Good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Sunshine here with you. And of course, you have stepped into the hottest spot in Pensacola, that is Sunshine's Corner. Trusting you've had a wonderful weekend because, wow, it has been some kind of weekend, right? But you know what? With it being Monday, I believe in starting off our week on a positive note. I'm talking about the real. I tell you all the time, this is a safe place where you can talk about the difficult conversation. And today is not going to be any different because we're going to go on a side today. I think that we all need to stand still, be attentive, and make sure that we have all of our facts together about this election year. And of course, we have in the studio with me today, I've been talking to this gentleman every time I'd be at an event, say, oh, I gotta get you. Oh, I gotta get you. Yeah. I mean, I've done that forever and ever. Thank you for coming in, Derrick, and I tell you, I appreciate you getting up early because I think it's some crucial things that we need to talk about today.
Thank you so much for having me.
No doubt. And everybody, I'm pretty sure you've seen Derrick, you've heard Derrick, because I think he is so well versed in all of the political issues that we're dealing with. And of course, you are the chair of the Escambia County Democratic Party.
That is correct.
Oh, well, good morning, Derrick. I tell you.
Good morning.
First of all, I don't know where to start off. I had another way I was going to start off today, but all this that happened this weekend, I don't know where to go. Yeah. But I'm just going to start how I feel. I'm sure you saw what I saw this weekend.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And it is a travesty to see things happening that way today.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that for this past weekend?
Well, I will say first off by saying, our thoughts and prayers are certainly with former President Trump and his family, the victims who lost their lives during the senseless tragedy. And if nothing else, this should be a wake-up call to Americans that, violence is never ever the answer in we can have political discourse, we can agree to disagree, but to take it to such a level to incite violence and a riot. But I will say that I'm not surprised because this has been the climate for quite some time now, and it's been festering, it's continued to fester, and this is just yet another senseless act that could have been avoided if we just take the time to stop, listen, and understand.
Absolutely.
And stop perpetuating all of these unfortunate narratives and stereotypes.
Most certainly. And he is truly a blessed man this morning for that bullet got that close to him. I'll say that much.
Absolutely.
And but I still say I'm in awe. It's so unbelievable, such a time as it is, that is happening. But you say, I believe that was going I'm just going to tell you what I thought. I thought that was going to happen before.
Yes.
I really did. But you see, even with this year, I want to come local now. We're going to jump off on that because I think that the local going to take you all the way up. You understand what I'm saying? Now, this year we got local elections going on. I want you, with you being the chair, tell me what's happening. Are the people motivated? Do they know the essence of how important it is to get out and vote?
So I think, we have seen what the last 4 years has brought us, right? And let's first start by saying that all elections and stuff start at the local level.
Right.
The ones that impact you the most are going to be those local elections. It's your city council, it's your county commissioners.
Absolutely.
It's those that represent you in this case, our Florida State House of Representatives and the Florida Senate. Those elections are going to be paramount to how you live your life on a daily basis. And so if nothing else, we should be paying attention specifically to what is going on at the local level. Understanding who is the best representative for you, for your school board. Oftentimes, I know in these past few years, we've seen a lot of attention being paid to school boards and the politicization of the things that are going on with our educational and curriculum for our students.
Absolutely.
You have to be tied in. We've seen things that have happened locally here within the city council, looking at how issues that affect us, like affordable housing, these things are paramount to your everyday existence in Pensacola or Escambia County or our neighboring counties. So you have to be dialed in to understanding what's going on locally. And I think, if nothing else, this is the year, and we keep hearing it every election cycle. We hear, this is the election cycle. Well, we are here to tell you, we can disregard all of that in the past,
but
this year is the year
that
you need to pay attention to. Make sure that you express your voice through your vote, engage in both, not only the general election in November, but the primary election, because a lot of your local elections, specifically those that are in city council and nonpartisan races, are determined in the primary.
Absolutely.
When you're talking about school board races, there's an opportunity. If you don't vote, your voice will not be heard, because the decision will be made August the 20th on who represents you on school board. It could be made for city council.
That's right.
And those are the nature. So you have to express your vote.
No doubt.
In both election cycles.
And ladies and gentlemen, I tell you every single day, when you want to be heard, how you can do that and speak the loudest is by casting your vote. And I encourage you every day. Let me do this as well. I encourage everybody who's watching today to please be a part of this conversation today at 850-432-7768. You can call or text if you've got questions for Derrick. I'm sure he has an answer for you, because he's very well knowledge. I mean, filled with knowledge. I mean, because every time I hear him speak, I just go, oh. But we're talking about the local elections where people, even here that I see, I don't see the urgency.
No.
I'm sorry, but I don't see the urgency, even with the people here locally, for the primary that's coming up in when? August the what?
August the 20th.
August the 20th. It is just so close. I think about how close we are to November. But if you don't get this here locally taken care of,
it doesn't
what
matter.
are your sentiments?
Right.
I mean, come on.
Yeah, we have to. We have been pressing upon. There are some issues that I think everybody needs to be very much aware of and very well addressed. Let's first start talking about, number one, how you cast your vote.
Right.
Many people, as I talk on an ongoing basis, still do not know that there was a change in how voters are able to vote by mail. At the end, the Florida legislature back in 2022 signed into law called Senate Bill 90, which stated that everybody who was registered to vote or enrolled in vote by mail ballots have to now re-enroll after every election cycle. So at December 31st of 2022, about 4.6 million individuals in the state of Florida were removed from vote by mail. So vote by mail ballots have already gone out.
Absolutely.
If you have not gotten one, and you have in the past, it's because you were removed from the vote by mail and you have not re-enrolled. So it is imperative. We still have a huge amount of people that are expecting a ballot, will be expecting a ballot, and are not going to receive one in time for the primary. Now, it may be a wake-up call to say, hey, wait, why didn't my vote by mail ballot come for the primary? And they need to call the supervisor of elections to do so. But we're now going to have to do this after every election cycle. So you enroll now, you're still going to have to re-enroll it next year as well if you want to do so for 2026.
Right.
And so we're going to have to continue this cycle. These decisions are made in the Florida House and the Florida Senate. We're talking about that. So there are a lot of people who are going to be up for a rude awakening. But, we're working tirelessly to make sure that individuals who have fallen into that category are aware. And all it takes is a simple phone call to the supervisor of elections.
Not too late.
It is not too late. You have up until July the 20th if you want
Next week.
Yes, if you want to enroll in vote by mail to receive a ballot in the primary election. You have up until that time, and you can remedy it by doing a 4-minute phone call to the supervisor of elections and telling them that you want to enroll in vote by mail, and they'll get you squared away. If you're questioning whether or not you're enrolled, you can call the supervisor of elections, 595-3900
here
locally,
right?
and they will tell you whether or not you're enrolled and whether or not you're good to go. It will be, if you have not received it, and if you're expecting it and you haven't received it by today or tomorrow, the likelihood
you're not going
to get it right now. So that's number one. But number two, the urgency has to be there. We were talking earlier, and typically I use our delegate elections. We had delegate elections on the Democratic side back in April of this year, and that's the time for Democrats to come together to elect who is going to be their voice at the Democratic National Convention here that's coming up in August in Chicago. Typically, on a very good turnout, we have about 55 to 60 people come out and cast their votes for a delegate election. This year, we had over 600 people in Escambia County turn out to come out and vote in the delegate election. Now, in the drop of the hat, you're saying, oh, that's not really a lot of people. but it is.
That's
and
a huge increase.
And if that is indicative of what we should expect for the primary and the general election, then I'm cautiously optimistic about where our state and how voter turnout is going to be for this year's election cycle. I think everybody's paying attention. It's kind of hard not to pay attention to what is going on.
That's
you know,
right.
You have to be completely tuned out either from social media, television, radio, to not see or hear about what's going on with the state of democracy in this nation and certainly in the state of Florida. It's hard not to be.
You got that right. I agree.
You know, at this point in time, you have to be engaged. And if you aren't, that's okay. We don't expect everybody to know everything.
Right.
But it's up to you to make yourself available to find out what you need to know. There are options that are out there. There are a lot of great candidates that are on this year's electoral slate that I think can bring about some change that we so desperately need here in Escambia County, Pensacola, and the surrounding counties as well.
Younger people. So therefore, that's from younger blood, and so bring some fresh ideas.
Yeah.
So let's make some move. Everybody get out and vote.
You know, for the first time, you know, when I look at our Democratic candidates in Escambia County, we've got some young and dynamic and exceptionally talented individuals who are running for election for office. Haley Morissette comes from office. Comes to mind. She's running for Florida State House District 2. You know, when we talk about Haley's credentials, she's absolutely young. She is the number 37 of the most influential people in Pensacola. She's Social Worker of the Year. She has a great opportunity to make some change for the residents of Escambia County.
Absolutely.
But it's going to be up to us to galvanize people. It's not enough to register voters. We have to actually get to go, have to get them to go out to vote, right? And I think she brings a energy and enthusiasm to our candidacy that we've not ever seen. She had a campaign kickoff, and I was enthralled by the number of young people that were at that campaign kickoff. You hear them saying, I've never really wanted to be involved in politics, but now I think I have a reason I want to get more engaged. And I'm like, hallelujah, thank you. So there's some hope there, you know, and the young folks are going to have to step out. This is an opportunity. I mean, we have amendments that are critical that are going to be on this year's electoral ballot. Amendments 3 and 4. Amendment 3 is the right for recreational use or adult use marijuana usage. That is going to bring out a very different,
I think so too,
electorate that we have not seen in the past.
I agree.
Right? And then we have Amendment 4, which is women's reproductive health care. Limit tax to have access to reproductive health care and abortion health care.
Right.
That is going to bring out a lot of individuals that we historically have not seen. So when we look at what our voter turnout is going to be, I'm excited. I think there's some opportunity there. But again, we have to get the word out so that people know exactly who they're voting for, what's at stake, and what the changes that they need to implement.
We cannot get relaxed and just say, okay, it's going to happen, or this is going to be this is what I hate. My vote doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
You know, we've got to get out of that, my dear friends. Please make sure we're getting a wealth of information today on things that we need to know locally so that you'll be able to make the next step. I agree. And I tell you, it's like this. I want you to be a part of this conversation because, Derrick, we're going to go to another route. There's so many questions I have for you today.
Absolutely.
I have a
Let's go.
page.
Let's go.
But listen, if you've got a question, want to be a part of this conversation, you are certainly invited. 850-432-7768. Call or text, and I'll be back with more right here, Sunshine's Corner on Blab TV.
Empire Truck Sales, located at 2255 West Detroit Boulevard in Pensacola, is your Freightliner, Western Star, Detroit Diesel, and Cummins dealer for Northwest Florida. Open 7 days a week, Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturdays and Sundays, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., providing sales, service, and parts. Empire Truck Sales is also your Oasis dealer for Freightliner custom chassis RV and motorhome repairs. Running I-10 will get you in.
Many who consider facial plastic surgery are concerned their results will look unnatural But with over 20 years of serving the Pensacola community, his thousands of satisfied patients have made Dr. Derrick Jones a trusted reconstructive and facial plastic surgeon known for industry-leading results that look natural. Call 850-484-FACE to schedule a consultation at one of our locations in Pensacola and Gulf Breeze.
I'm Dr. Derrick Jones. Trust your face to a facial plastic surgeon.
Lloyd's Glass and Correct Calibration Services is a one-stop shop because you can come get your windshield replaced, and right behind that replacement at the same appointment, we will calibrate the cameras, and when you leave, everything's ready to go. There's no need to go to the dealership, or there's no need to come back for another appointment. We just take care of it at one time. We put the customer first, and we strive to do everything right the first time.
Lloyd's Glass and Correct Calibration Services, your one-stop shop with same-day service.
There are many reasons someone may need in-home care, whether it may be respite care, them recovering from surgery, or having a chronic condition. Having someone dedicated and reliable is imperative. Supplemental Support Care Services was created to provide to those who are in need with quality care that they deserve in the home. Taking it a step further, our main goal is to ensure that Supplemental Support Care Services is where the love and care is top priority.
Welcome back to the hottest spot in town, Sunshine's Corner. It is Monday, a very beautiful weekend, even though. And I'm so pleased to have Derrick in the studio with me today. And he is the chair of the Democratic Party, and I'm so glad to get all this information we need. We were talking about some other things that you want to point out.
Yeah, we have, as we talk about it, I want to make sure that everybody's aware. We talk about what's at stake, but when we talk about it here, let's bring it to your point, let's bring it locally,
right,
and how that impacts us here. When we look at what we've gone through in I would say the last 3 to 4 years, we're suffering from a shortage of affordable housing here in Escambia County and the Northwest Florida Panhandle. We're suffering from an increase insurmountable in property taxes. People cannot afford to maintain their lives, their homes, their livelihoods. We're seeing a migration out of Escambia County and even out of Florida. They're moving to Alabama, just here going over to our state to the west of us so they can actually afford to live. So they're doing the commute. We're seeing all this stuff. We saw this year a mass removal of people who are on Medicaid being removed because the Florida legislature and Governor Ron DeSantis did not sign and extend that clause that allowed for the possibility of Medicaid enrollment. So we saw almost 250,000 people removed just this year from Medicaid alone.
Really?
So these are the things that are impacting our community on an everyday basis. And when we look at that, you have to ask yourself, who in your local delegation, when we're talking about, whether we're talking about congressional at Matt Gaetz, whether we're talking about your leadership in the Florida House, whether it's Michelle Salzman or Alex Andrade or your Senator Doug Broxson, what have they done to bring about some relief for you by the way of your economic stability and livelihood in the state of Florida in the past while they've been in office? That's the question that you need to ask yourself. What have they done to improve your quality of life? Oftentimes, when we ask the question, we're left with a look of puzzlement. People don't know how to answer the question.
Right.
Because they generally can't think of anything. Matt Gaetz has been in Congress for quite some time now.
Yes, he has.
He has the worst track record out of all members of the House of Representatives for attendance in the House. He just does not come. So for people who are placing their vote to say, hey, Matt Gaetz, you're going to be my representative and speak on my behalf of Northwest Florida, can't do so when you're not there.
Exactly.
Can't do so when you're voting on bills because he doesn't vote. He has the worst, literally, out of all members of the U.S. House of Representatives, he is at the bottom in terms of attendance and vote records. So when we're talking about it, again, what has he done for you in this term or any other term? You've got an alternative in Gay Valamont who is running who has you at the top of mind, who will be there to fight for you, to champion your life, to make sure that your economic equality and your improvement, your lifestyle improvement, gets better for you as a Northwest Floridian.
Wow.
You have to count these things. It's not enough to just say, I'm Republican, so I'm voting Republican to be Republican, because that's what I'm supposed to do. Look at where you are in your position. Where does your pocketbook say it? Then make that decision, because you're not living under, your pocketbook isn't right now defined under President Biden. Where we are from an economic standpoint is a result of the prior 4 years. It's not because of Joe Biden and what he's done. You have to understand, you live in you're feeling the effects of the former term.
I'm so glad you brought that, because I've always said that. They look at who's there presently and think that that's the person that's doing it.
That's
Come
not,
on,
right,
that's not the case.
And when you look at it, like even just on a national level, when you look at President Biden's track record, he has been the most successful president in modern day history. We've not seen a president that's accomplished anything more than what Joe Biden has. Economically, we've seen the policies that he's put into place. Whether you agree with him or not, he has benefited you financially. He's improved your quality of life. You may not see it right now. Wait, just give it a year, just 2 years, and see it. Doesn't your quality of life improve? You know, we have to sift through all of the rhetoric. Oh, he's too old. He's this. He's that, and the third. Whatever the case may be. Look at his ability to lead. Between he and Vice President Kamala Harris, you can't argue that there hasn't been a better successful duo at the president and vice president. But even if we come down locally, we start looking at who's making a gain. Look at what's happening here for you. We just here, during this year, we saw an upheaval of citizens in the city of Pensacola who were upset with the Malcolm Young gym being demolished.
Yes, that's right.
We saw that. We saw citizens in the city of Pensacola ask their leadership to save Malcolm Young gym from doing so. Your electorates decided to do otherwise.
That's right.
When your electorates are not operating at the behest of what you're asking them to do, it's time to look at,
change.
There's change. There are people who are running. You need to take a look at how they benefit what you want them to, what your lifestyle is, and whether or not you agree with their platforms, their premise. I guarantee you there's some change that needs to happen, but it only will happen if you get out and cast a ballot.
That's the only way. Do you think we need to educate people on more of how, I know you said that you're working hard to get the word out about all the change that's already happened, where so many people have already maybe not able to vote by mail-in. But what I'm saying now, do we need to be more proactive in getting out, to have more rallies whatsoever, to educate people on the importance, even on the ballot?
Yeah, I think voter education in its entirety is going to be paramount. There's number one, you made a comment that we hear, and I hear it oftentimes too, that my vote doesn't matter. And my counter to that is, if it didn't matter, people would not be working so hard to make you not vote.
That's right.
That tells you in and of itself that your vote is paramount, and it is going to be critical. So it's not enough to say, oh, my vote doesn't matter. That's number one. It absolutely matters. Elections are won by just the difference of 2 or 3 votes. We can cite plenty of examples where 1 or 2 votes have made the difference, right? That's number one. But number two, to understand understanding your connection in where you are in life, your economic equality, where you are in your pocketbook, how it's hurt you or helped you, and are tying that to the policies and the decisions that are made at the federal level, at the state level, and certainly at a local level, to understand how that impacts you, and making sure that you're voting for your economic and lifestyle best interests. That's going to be number one. And making sure, number one, once you understand and can make that connection, you can better articulate who you want to vote for and express that through your vote. But I'll see candidates talk about, they'll use the buzzwords. Oh, you know, you'll hear someone talking about they're going to make a change to affordable housing. Well, no, that's not your you're not at the level where you can make a change.
That's right.
So although it's great to talk about it, and you can talk about, oh, I support affordable housing, well, what are you going to do in your position once you get it? If they can't answer that, then you know you need to move something else.
Exactly.
You know, you need to talk to someone else. And those are the key points that we have. We have candidates that are versed on how they can make a difference at their level. And that's going to be the message and the narrative that we're pushing. Number one, you need to go vote.
Right.
Let's talk about how you vote. I always make a game plan of your options in voting should be, if I had to prioritize, and everybody can make a decision that's best for them. Excuse me, but for me, it is vote by mail. That should be your first option, your first plan. Your second plan should be early voting.
Absolutely.
And your last plan is election day or the general election day voting. That should be, because you never know what can happen or what could happen that will prevent you from exercising your vote.
Right.
Once you waited to the general election day, if something goes wrong, oftentimes it's too late.
Absolutely.
So your vote by mail is number one. Early voting in Escambia County, early voting for the primary is August 10th through the 17th. That should be your plan B. And then general election or election day voting should be your plan. That is the way you're going to be successful in doing so.
Absolutely.
And I want to talk about voting.
We got a phone call here. Hold on 1 second. Let's see who's going. Maybe somebody has a question for you here. Good morning.
Good morning. This is Ardelia. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Miss Ardelia.
I think you should change your show's name to Coffee and Sunshine, because that's what I do.
I'm going to have to do that for you. I'm going to say, look, let's have a cup of coffee at the corner with Sunshine.
Okay, I just wanted to tell people that I was raised by a family. My mom and dad were super voters. They voted every time they had an election because they knew exactly how important it was. And I always wondered how that felt, but now I do know, because no matter what they are on the ballot, if it's in my district or in my area, and my poll is open, I'm going to vote, okay?
Absolutely.
Very, very important. Because if you go back, if you know your history, you know what we had to go through to get to vote, you know? And my parents lived in that era where it was a struggle to vote. So I consider myself to be a super voter, and there is a list of people on that super voter list that they are targeting. So if you're a super voter, make sure you go vote. But my mother will vote for the dog catcher.
I tell you, thank you, Ardelia.
You're welcome, girl.
All righty. Have a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye. Everybody, please, if you would like to be a part of this conversation, just as Miss Ardelia just said, she said her mother would vote for the dog catcher. If it's in her district, that's what they had to do. They had to get out and vote.
Yeah.
And I want to encourage everybody to get that mindset.
Yeah.
That mindset is important.
Yeah.
And be that person that's going to go out there if it's the dog catcher to get you got to vote.
And she is absolutely right. They do, we do have super voters. We know exactly who they are on an ongoing basis. What our focus is, and I'll tell you my strategy, I appreciate and I love super voters because they require almost little to no maintenance, right? To Ms. Ardelia's point, they know exactly that there's an election coming up. They take the time to understand who's on the ballot, and they go and cast their vote. What I am focused on is our lukewarm voters and our no voters, people who are registered, but they might go every 2 or 3 election cycles. They don't go oftentimes, right? Those are the folks that we want to make sure, because our voter turnout, when we look at our voter turnout in 2022, it was abysmal.
Okay.
You know, we need to do better. And
Absolutely.
so we're stuck with some of these choices, and we're living the direct result of not going to vote as we should. And that's what we're looking to change. So we appreciate and we love our super voters. Well,
that's right, Ms. Ardelia.
We love her, you know, but I want to make sure that everybody comes out. You
Absolutely.
know, we have got to do better with that.
And I tell you, we got another call here. Let's see who else is want to talk with us today. Good morning.
Good morning, Sunshine. It is Dr. Martin. Calling you. How you doing?
I'm doing wonderful. How about you?
I'm doing pretty good. Let me tell you, I am so pleased with the show today. It gives me goofy. The information that is being provided. I thank Mr. Derrick Scott for, you know, making sure that, you know, the information is the real type of information that we're receiving, and him just explaining how important, the importance of local election, and how those are the things that really make a change on how we are affected in our lives. I just love it. I think that, you know, we need to keep these type of conversations ongoing as much as possible so people can really get an understanding how important that, you know, sometimes people may just not need to be staying in these positions because they're not doing nothing for us.
Absolutely. I tell you what, thank you, Dr. Martin. And I'm sure Derrick appreciates calling in. He loves it as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All righty. Everybody, I tell you what, now, if you want to be a part of this conversation, you are most certainly welcome. You can call us at 850-432-7768. And when we come back, Derrick, I'm going to hit another. I've been waiting to hit this one.
I know what it is.
I know. We're going to be talking about Project 2025. I want everybody to be educated about this. Coming up right here, Sunshine's Corner. Don't go anywhere. Need a new outfit for a special occasion? Look no further than Viola's Men's Apparel. Viola's has been providing the latest styles and accessories in Pensacola for over 20 years now. We have clothes for every occasion, and we offer consultations and group discounts. You can trust that our care, quality, and class will be unmatched. Viola's Men's Apparel, for all of your men wear needs.
This is Wayne at Icon Automotive in Robertsdale, Alabama, and I want to tell you more about our powertrain warranty forever. It comes with any vehicle we sell that has 80,000 miles or less at no additional cost to you. We put our vehicles through a tough safety and mechanical inspection before it can have the powertrain warranty forever, giving you a peace of mind with your purchase. This warranty is good anywhere in the country, and it covers 100% of parts and labor with no mileage limit, and is covered as long as you own the vehicle. Come pick out your dealership car at non-dealership pricing with a powertrain warranty forever at Icon Automotive.
Watch a new episode of Crime Stoppers Wanted Fugitives every Friday at 6 p.m. Hosted by Sergeant Melanie Peterson and David Craig. Your tips may be eligible for a cash reward, featuring items about officer training, various aspects of police work, and crime prevention information. You'll hear about upcoming family-friendly engagement events as well. Don't miss Crime Stoppers Wanted Fugitives every Friday at 6 p.m.
Go back to being a kid again. Head on over to Bubba's Sweet Spot. We've got house-made caramels, fudge, pralines, marshmallows, and lots and lots and lots and lots of chocolate. Looking for more traditional candy? We've got you. Our walls are covered head to toe in all the classics, from taffy to gummies and lollipops to gumballs. And don't forget our ice cream. With endless toppings and dipped cones, we've got what you're craving. Let us take you back to a time when every problem could be solved with candy. At Bubba's Sweet Spot.
And welcome back to the hottest spot in town. I tell you, Derrick, we getting text messages.
Yep.
And look, this is what I like to keep the community engaged, because you see, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power.
Absolutely.
Now, once you receive this knowledge, you can use that to execute the power that we're trying to receive, right?
You're absolutely right.
So now, that text message that had you laughing, what was that text message all about?
The gentleman was just talking about the importance of who was the most influential person in the government, and having the conversation about whether or not whether it was the president or the legislature or whom it was. And I appreciated the text message because it does say a lot. We have to understand who is the most influential. You know, and oftentimes we get caught up in the hype at the top of the ticket, and we see what's going on with President Biden and former President Trump, and we're expecting that is going to be, that decision and who takes office is going to shape how we live on a local level. And to a certain degree, it does. It absolutely does. I'm not discounting that. But you cannot think and place all of your emphasis at the top of a ticket. Right. You have to understand what's going on at the local and at the state level. I'll give you just an example. As we were talking, you know, some things that come to mind this year and how it impacts us. You know, we've seen here locally the transition. Well, I'll use Warrenton Middle School as an example. Oh, yeah. It went from public school to a charter school. Mm-hmm. Your local delegation, authored by Alex Andrade, introduced a bill into law in the Florida legislature that will give the ability for the city council to turn a public school into a charter school, right? And so when we look at that, why is that an issue? Well, we know right now with the laws passed that went into effect in July that gave everybody the ability in the state of Florida to receive a voucher. Mm-hmm. Some people think, oh, well, that's a great thing. You know, I want my child to be able to attend a private school or a charter school. But, and I think the delegation that's currently made up in the Florida House and the Florida Senate, we're living under what's called a supermajority, where they can introduce any legislation without the other party's consent. We're under a Republican supermajority. Let me be very specific in what I'm saying. So they can introduce legislation without Democratic consent. They can introduce bills. They don't have to go through the same committee process. Mm-hmm. What comes to the floor essentially gets signed into law if that's what they want it to be. So when we talk about, we saw the law change where everybody gets a voucher, right? Mm-hmm. What we don't talk about is the effect of what that looks like. Exactly. They're taking out, for every student who receives a voucher, they remove $8,000 from public education, right? That goes to that, with that school, with that student to that charter school. Right. Now, if that child is not successful in that charter, they go back to public. The money doesn't go back with them. It stays with the charter. So you're devaluing the available amount of funds that you have in public education, and what you have will result in continued overcrowding of classrooms with not enough financial resources to educate your children. Exactly. Meanwhile, those who are wealthy get a break in their tuition by sending their children to charter schools. It's not that the bill was not intended for everyday people. And that's what people have to understand. The bill was not intended for average citizens who have 9-to-5 jobs or making ends meet to send their child to a charter school. Right. The bill was intended for wealthy people to get a break on their private education tuition. That's where it is. It's a dismantling of the private education system. Now, what does that look like when we take it a step forward? If city council has the ability to turn public schools into charter schools, let's look at what that is. Within the city of Pensacola, what does that look like? That looks like schools that have a majority of black and brown students. Absolutely, are the ones that change in. And that's where we look at it. Those students, although just because you turn a school charter does not mean that child has the ability to go to that charter school. They may accept them, doesn't mean they have to keep them, right? So when we look at it, your child is now forced, they could have at their discretion the ability to turn public to charter. Money goes to the charter, but doesn't return back if they need to go back, right? So this is where we need to have people on the city council in place. So if that vote comes to fruition, you know, you think of people who keep your children at the top of mind. This is how local politics affects what you're doing on a day-to-day basis. We've seen the decisions that we've talked about, book banning ad nauseum in the school district in Escambia County. We're number 3 in the nation for book bans, right? This is where we need to have active engagement in what's going on in the political process. We have school board elections. School board seats for districts 4 and 5 are up for re-election this term. You're going to see a very different curriculum outcome with the school board and how decisions were made with the Escambia County School District.
Absolutely.
For the basis of this election.
Absolutely. Well, we got another text message. That text message wants to know, where can a person go to get information? What was the rest of that text, Jen? To get true information about what's happening with the state and the local government.
So I would tell them the best thing, if they're interested, they're more than welcome to stop by our office. The Escambia Democratic Party is located at 2618 Martin Luther King Drive. We're at the corner of Martin Luther King and Cross Street. We're open there from 11 to 2 Monday through Friday. We have all kinds of resources, everything you need to know about what's going on. We're happy to share that with you. You can call our office at 850-407-7997. You can get the information that way. We do, we also have broadcasts that we do on a weekly basis.
Yes, you sure do.
That talk about things that are going on online, within the state of Florida and locally. So we make the options available. Just give us a call, reach out, and we'll be happy to share the resources that are available for
And we're going to make sure that information is available for those who would like to find out how they can become more knowledgeable. Now, as I was talking a moment ago, we're talking about, I want to go back and ask another question. I got a text message here.
Okay.
Just for the record, this is the text. It wasn't a Democrat. It was not an illegal immigrant. It wasn't a LGBTQ person. It wasn't an African American. It wasn't anyone he said is poisoning the blood of Americans. It was a young white man registered as a Republican.
That is correct.
What are your thoughts?
Well, and that's, again, this is where you have to look at the data and the evidence.
Right.
You can't go with the propaganda and the rhetoric that's we're poisoning the blood of America or make America great again or illegal immigrants again. Right. That is a very great question. I'm still waiting to see when it was great. We'll let you know when we get there. But when we talk about it, you hear all of this rhetoric. To your point, it's illegals or someone of black and brown descent or LGBTQ. None of that was the case in this situation, right?
None.
When referencing, you're talking about a 20-year-old individual who was registered as a Republican who attempted to assassinate former President Trump. None of the things and oftentimes when you look at, and more often than not, when you look at the level of violence that's perpetuated and things that are happening,
I know where you're going.
None of those criteria fit the demographic of people that they're alleged are causing the problem or poisoning the blood.
Absolutely.
So again, you have to look at it from that standpoint. It's not enough to listen to a TikTok for 30 seconds.
Took the words off my lips.
Or listen to a post on Facebook or Instagram and determine that's accurate, I'm running with that. Because there's oftentimes a lot of empirical evidence that will refute your point and then have you looking, well, wait a minute, what's going on?
Speaking of TikTok, I was listening to TikTok. There was one that came up this weekend, and that was pointing to say that it was President Obama that was in behind of having this young man do this.
Right.
I mean, come on, people.
Right.
Come on.
Oftentimes in this recent wave of Make America Great Again and ultra right-wing rhetoric, people have lost their ability for rational thought, oftentimes, in my opinion. Things that you can't conceptualize that don't make any sense. I mean, I've heard President, and it's steeped in, and this is just my opinion, it's steeped in racism and what it is and where we are when we're talking about it. I hear they talk about this man was talking, they went back as far as on social media, they're talking about 9/11 and what happened with that. And the man said, I blame President Obama because he didn't do anything.
Really?
What? President Obama wasn't president in 9/11.
9/11.
So what did you want him to do?
So how does that connect?
That doesn't even connect. But the go-to is there's this man a black man who was held the highest position arguably in the world, right? And it's caused this uproar, and now we're feeling the result of what's happened. Because,
exactly.
In my opinion, President Trump has given license for the ability to people say the quiet part out loud and express that.
I love how you put that, to say the quiet part out loud, and I honestly believe that. I experienced that. There's some things or some people that I have experienced that with it I didn't think.
Yes.
It brought out a lot of things that really caused me to do a aha moment.
Right.
To say, oh my God, I didn't believe that. I didn't think that, but it gave them that comfort to say, okay, please be a part of this. Be a part. Got me stammering. Be a part of this conversation today as we talk with Mr. Derrick Smith. The chair of the Democratic Party right here in Pensacola. We're talking about things that you need to be aware of. And please, feel free. Call us. This is a place where you can talk about anything as comfortable, and we're going to let you have your way. Right here at 850-432-7768. It is Sunshine's Corner. We'll be right back.
I just remembered it's election day. Are you going to vote?
I don't know. I don't think I'll have time today.
Millions of eligible voters in America never make it to the polls or even register to vote. When you don't vote, you're letting other people make decisions for you and pick the things your taxes will pay for. Voting is more than a civic duty. It gives you a voice about the priorities and the future of your community and our nation. Voting gives you a seat at the table.
Well, I think it's all about local, and I'm a big believer in local. So I think anytime you can carry a message out locally, it's important. And I think it's anytime the person that delivers the service can also deliver the message, which is unusual. You have the people that actually deliver the project doing the talking, and I think that's a huge difference, and really makes a huge value difference for the consumer. So I'm really just so grateful that we have this local opportunity with Blab TV. My name is Quince Dieter, and I am Blab TV.
Hey fellas, my name is Daniel Denny, owner of the Men's Clinic, and if you're suffering from ED and the bedroom has become your worst nightmare, where you no longer have the self-confidence you used to have, it doesn't have to be that way. We can help. You're not alone. We have over a 90+% success ratio with our patients. I'm so confident you'll be pleased with the results that if we can help you, there's no charge for the office visit. I'll personally cover it.
Hello, my name is Eric, and this was my first visit to Little John's. The selection, the pricing here, and the customer service were outstanding. I would definitely recommend. The staff was very friendly, and they'll get you what you need.
Hi, this is John with Little John's Big and Tall here in Pensacola, Florida at 5700 North Davis Highway. Check us out at littlejohnsbigandtall.com, where we can take care of you with extra large up to 14X and large tall to 6X tall.
Absolutely.
And welcome back to the hottest spot in town. I'll tell you what, people, my dear people, thank you for being engaged in this conversation, because we can do this over again and again and again. I don't think we'd have enough time. But you know what? We're getting lots of text messages now. We had 2 text messages, right, Jen? And the first one was, how we want to talk about restoring the felons' rights in Florida.
Right.
And we're going to come back to Project 25. We didn't forget, people. It's so much to be covered with Project 2025.
It is.
But let's go to with the felons getting it. Okay, let me put this question this way.
Absolutely.
With our former president being convicted, 34?
33 counts, yeah.
33 counts, felon. And I'm sure people are thinking, if he's running and for president, but I can't vote.
Right.
Make that make sense.
Yeah, so unfortunately, like when we look at it, so each state has a very different dynamic in terms of how they deal with returning citizens, as we call them, or people who have been incarcerated for felony convictions. With the president, unfortunately, the founding fathers never could imagine this scenario happening. But there is nothing in our Constitution or at the federal level that will deny him the ability to run and serve as president. And people have a very legitimate point to say, I can't vote, but he can run. That makes no sense. Make that make sense, right? And it's a very absolutely valid point. I don't disagree with them.
Right.
I think there should be. Unfortunately, our Constitution wasn't shaped or formed with the thought in mind that the person who held the highest office would actually or could actually be a convicted felon, right?
Exactly.
At this point in time. So this is something
33 times.
Exactly 33 times. And said, but yet it's the immigrants, it's the people of color who are having the problem, right?
Exactly.
But as we say that, times have now got to catch up to where we are currently to figure out what's happening. With the state of Florida, we did so much work as a state. We had a ballot initiative, if you recall, back in 2018, where we got out more than 50-60% of the entire state of Florida said, yes, our returning citizens should be afforded the right to have their rights restored, and be able to take place in the democratic process, right? The Republican legislature said, no, we don't want that. So they instituted what I consider to be a modern day poll tax to say, okay, we're going to make it difficult for you. In order to do so, you have to meet all of these loosened thresholds, the number one being their fines, having completed their fines and fees and having all of those paid. Which, okay, that's a poll tax, but if I know what they are, then that's the first step in paying them.
Right.
The state of Florida doesn't have a database that collectively tells you, as a returning citizen, I owe or you owe X amount of dollars, whether it be fines or fees or restitution. It doesn't tell you that. There are 67 counties in the state of Florida. 33 don't have that record as available. So if you're convicted, how do you know
exactly
how much you owe to determine whether or not you can pay it? Now, we also think about it. Some of the fees are in excess of thousands of dollars. You're talking about someone who has been incarcerated for a period of time. That money is not necessarily readily available to them, nor are the jobs available to them that will allow them to make the money back so that they can do so. So you're keeping them, for lack of a better term, incarcerated, right, and not being able to politicize that. There are groups in the state of Florida, specifically in the state of Florida, I think of the FRRC, the Florida Rights and Restoration Coalition, that work with returning citizens to get their rights restored. They will work with you, help you to identify, and they've had tremendous success. And I'll take it a step further. There were grant monies available to people who were returning citizens that if they did not have the money to pay those fees, they would work with them to give them grant money to get those fees paid, right? That money has since they've almost gotten to a dried up place or nil. So they're working with institutions. The one that comes to mind that's great in our area is League of Women Voters. If you fall in that category where you are a returning citizen and you want to have your rights restored, the easiest way is to reach out to the League of Women Voters, the Pensacola Bay, and they will set you with attorneys. They will get you connected with the people who are in place and available for you to assist you with that. Oftentimes, the judges now, they've been able to commute the financial barriers to community service, and oftentimes wipe them out. So that is the barrier that is blocking most of our citizens, but they don't know that they can do so. Now, anybody who, as long as you have not been convicted of sexual assault or murder, you're eligible to have your rights restored. But the only way to do that is to start that process.
I got you. Quickly, we got just a few minutes. The importance of Project 2025. What would you tell everybody that's watching today?
What I would tell them is that if they have not taken the time to read how it impacts them, please know that this is nothing to be played with. This is going to be detrimental to democracy, to what your life is like as you move forward, should President Trump be reelected. We're talking about the privatization of Social Security. We're talking about the elimination of elimination of veterans assistance and aid. We're talking about the removal of over 50,000 civil service jobs.
Yes.
If you work for the state or the federal government and you have donated to anybody who is not a Republican, you are at risk of losing your job and your pension. This is a blueprint to going from what we know as a democracy completely over to an autocracy and a dictatorship.
Absolutely. Dictatorship is the word I wanted to hear. Dictatorship. And I want to encourage everybody, please look it up. You can find out. There's a whole list of things that's there that you'll see how it's going to affect you. But please do not sit back and just say, oh, it's not going to affect me. Yes, it will. And I'll tell you, Derrick, it's so much more I want to talk about, but I mean, my God, can you believe how hours up?
I cannot believe it.
I mean, it has gone by so quickly because the information that we've shared today, and I want everybody to realize, don't take this as a joke. Locally, please know that your local vote, the local decisions that you make will also be utterly imperative to everything that's coming up in November.
Absolutely.
And I want to say that over and over again. Now, if you want questions to find out answers, you can call Derrick.
Yes.
And you can get in there. You're there every day from 11 until 2.
11 to 2. Again, 2618 North Martin Luther King Drive, or 850-407-7997, or you can email us at escambiadems@outlook.com.
We will make sure that we have all of that information ready for you so you can make sure, please, flood that phone, flood that office every day. Get the information that you need so that you can make the right decisions, so that you can be a part of making the change that is necessary. I always say this, you know, oftentimes change doesn't feel good.
It doesn't.
But it is absolutely necessary. Over and over again, I say that every single day. And Derrick, I gotta say, I mean, she's telling me, come on, your time is up, look. But I want to personally invite you back again, because I will have you on again so we can talk more about what we need to do here in Escambia County, how important it is this year for this election that's coming up.
Absolutely, I'd love to be back.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And everybody, remember in my pardon, I always leave you the same way every day. Never, ever, ever lose your focus. Always remember, if you keep God first in everything that you do, I guarantee you, you're going to be a total success. So until tomorrow morning for another day of information and love, go out and tell somebody when you want to be a part of it. Choose Sunshine at 9 o'clock. So until then, my friends, know that I love you with a perfect kind of love. Keep shining while I'm gone. Have a great Monday. Thanks for watching.